The first time I drank alcohol, it felt like I had discovered a magic elixir. It gave me confidence, connection, a sense of belonging. But it also turned into a toxic relationship that almost broke me. After years of binge drinking, blacking out, losing friends, and trying to quit, I was finally able to break free from alcohol. And today I'm sharing with you what got me hooked in the first place, how I broke free, what that freedom has meant to my life, and finally, what you can do if you are finding that alcohol is just taking way more than it's giving. Let's get into it. When I started high school, I was so excited. I had my best friend, I had a set of new clothes. I couldn't wait for this new and fresh beginning. But what happened was not what I had planned at all. My best friend basically told me, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. This is a new, fresh start for me. I'm here to make new friends. And I was heartbroken. Yes, my best friend broke up with me almost the very first day of high school. And I was left wondering, what am I going to do now? I didn't have a friend group. I didn't really have an outgoing personality to make friends. I felt really unseen, and I just kind of moved about my high school years, especially like the first year of high school, just being, not really feeling like I had a group that I fit into. I was on dance team and I loved it. And that was a great group of girls, but we didn't really hang out that much. When it came to my sophomore year of high school, I was so excited because one of our team captains on the dance team had invited me and pretty much the whole team to her house for a party. And I was thrilled. I was so happy to finally like be invited to one of these social gatherings. And when I got there, unbeknownst to me or my mom, the family had like a house or something on their property where they let us have this party. But when I got there, there were so many people. It was completely crowded with teenagers. There were boys, there were girls, and there was alcohol, more alcohol than any teenager should have access to. There were kegs, I actually don't even remember all of it because there was just so much. And I started drinking. I started laughing, I started talking to people that I had never had the courage to talk to before. And this moment was so defining for me. And I tell people often, I have never been able to drink like a quote unquote regular person. I have always just had that first drink and didn't have an off switch. And this is where it started. I just could not get enough because it seemed like the more I drank, the more fun I could have. Of course, over drinking leads to other things like passing out or throwing up and all of those very unglamorous things, but I never focused on that. I was just so excited that I had discovered the key that would open the door to all of my teenage dreams and desires, to be part of a community, to have a boyfriend, to be invited to parties, to be liked, to be thought of. And I thought this was the best thing ever. We had parents that would go out of town. We also did something, I don't know if any of you have ever done it, called spotting beer, when we would go to like local grocery stores, try to find someone of age that would buy us alcohol. We would give them money, we would give them a lot of money, so we made it worth their while. And that's just kind of how we operated. I always overconsumed. It was always excessive. I was always just pushing the limit. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I was starting to lose myself, even in those very early days. When high school ended, so many of my friends just went in different directions. And again, I was left lonely, without a community, without friends, and all of those things that had happened back in the beginning of high school, and those feelings started to come up again. But it wasn't really difficult for me to soon find friends who like to drink because I equated alcohol with fun. And if I didn't have alcohol, there's no way that I could have fun. So, of course, I gravitated to those people who wanted to have fun and wanted to drink alcohol with me. I was just getting into bars at the age of 19. It was crazy that people would let me into bars because I literally looked like I was 12 years old then. But I had no fear when it came to alcohol. Lots of fear when it came to other things. And I realized that I was numbing a lot of my insecurity. I was numbing a lot of those voices telling me, like, you shouldn't be doing this. This is becoming a problem. But I did not care because I was able to do things that I couldn't do when I wasn't drinking. And I just felt like a better version of myself when I was drinking. Looking back, I was definitely not a good version of myself or a better version of myself, but this is where alcohol, it can just trick your mind. So after high school, things got worse. And I dropped out of college. I did get a job, but things were not going well because I would just live to be able to drink and to party. That was just my life. Eventually, my mom and my stepdad decided that they were going to move to the Pacific Northwest, and my mom encouraged me to move as well. And she knew that I was struggling. I don't know how much she really realized I was struggling, but she knew. And she encouraged me to move with them and my brother. And I was like, no, I think I'm going to stay here. And she was like, no, I think it would be best for you to move with us. And I was 19. I didn't need to, but the way she said it, I couldn't say no. So I ended up moving, and I didn't drink for quite a while because I didn't really know anybody else that did. I got a job. I really liked my job. And even though I didn't particularly care for the area that we were living in at the time, it was so different from where I moved from, and I had to get used to it. It just felt like it was a good move. So I ended up making friends with people that I worked with, and guess what? They like to drink too. So pretty soon I moved out of the house and I was able to pretty much do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. And that included lots of drinking and lots of partying. I was binge drinking, I was blacking out, I was blowing through roommates like nobody's business. And along the way, I was beginning to realize this is out of control, but I just couldn't stop. And I honestly didn't want to stop because all my friends were doing the same thing. And again, I just had that confidence, that community, and I didn't want to lose that at all, regardless of all the bad things that were happening, because it was a very, very dark time. But that's the crazy thing about alcohol, is that it lifts you up and then it just like pummels you down. And so I was on this constant roller coaster of feeling high and good and like amazing and energetic. And then the next morning, I would wake up feeling the worst that I could possibly ever feel, a lot of shame, guilt, regret. But by the time the evening rolled around, I would be drinking again just so that I could numb all those feelings and those words that were trying to tell me to stop doing it. And I would just be on this constant roller coaster. So I've neglected to tell you that I was raised Catholic. So I did have a faith. I knew that there was a God and I knew he loved me. But quite honestly, I just thought that he was disinterested in me. I didn't think he saw me. I thought that I had just screwed up so bad, quite honestly, that he really wanted nothing to do with me. I had prayed so many prayers that I just felt like they were unanswered. And I just came to the conclusion, like, yeah, God's there. Yeah, I know he loves me. But at the same time, I just don't feel like he wants to help me in any way just because I've screwed up so bad. And honestly, I can't really blame him. But then something happened that changed me and changed my relationship with God. And it was this supernatural encounter that I had one night. I had passed out again, and this time it was different. I woke up in the dead of night feeling like there were two hands around my neck. I couldn't breathe. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is how I'm going to die. And I turned to look up, expecting to see a person. And instead, there was just this dark, ominous figure over me, gripping my neck so tightly. And I was terrified. Then all of a sudden, I noticed this white, bright figure come up over the darker figure. And I felt it say, "Not yet." And then both of them were gone. And after they left, I just took in the biggest, deepest breath ever. I was gasping for air. And that changed me. Now, I wish I could say that that night meant like I swore off booze forever and I went running to the nearest Catholic church. That is not what happened. But I will say that was the change that helped me realize there's something wrong. This is a problem. And not only that, God is actually for me. He's actually fighting for me and for my freedom. And that helped me finally reach that stage of change where I would do absolutely anything to stop drinking. So while I did keep drinking after that supernatural encounter, I will say that it was never quite the same. So when my boss came to me one day and said, "Christy, if you don't stop drinking, you are going to lose your job." And simultaneously, my roommate said, "Christy, if you don't stop drinking, you're going to have to find another place to live." I all of a sudden was ready to stop drinking. So I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get them off my back? How am I going to make sure that I still have my job and still have a place to live? So I sought treatment, outpatient treatment at a medical facility. I went to that outpatient treatment for about 90 days, but I will tell you, the entire time I was there, all I could do was look around the room thinking, I am not as bad as these people. I don't belong here. So I never really had the willingness to think that I will do absolutely anything to stop drinking. Instead, it was like, what do I need to finish this program so that people will get off my back, forget about it, and then I can just go back to drinking how I was doing it. So needless to say, even though I did go through that treatment, it was not very successful for me. And I kept doing all the same things that I had always done when I was drinking. I hung out with the same people. I did the same things, which was go to bars and go line dancing and have people over. So I was doing all the things I did when I was drinking, only I was miserable. And by the way, I was making everyone else miserable because I was glaring at them. So when I was done with that treatment and I was having one of those nights where I was just so angry about not being able to drink and everyone else was, my roommate turned to me and she's like, "Fine, I don't care. Go ahead and drink." And I was like, "Okay, I will." So I started drinking again, but it really only lasted about a month or two before I got to the point where, and I'm sure this was the Holy Spirit, this is the thought I had: "Christy, if you do not stop drinking, you are going to get a DUI, you're going to kill someone, you're going to end up in jail, you're going to end up homeless, you're going to lose your job, you're not going to live. You are never going to have that life that you desire if you keep going the way you are going." And that was enough to get me to stop. So one night, I was just like, I'm doing this. Like, I am done. I am so sick of feeling like this. So I went to the store, I grabbed myself a 6-pack of Zima and a half rack of cheap beer, and I just drank myself till I passed out. And the next morning, I woke up and I threw whatever was left over away. And that was the last time I had a drink. Now, I told my mom about this, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, do you know what day that is that you stopped drinking?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "That was the 10-year anniversary of your grandma's death. That was like her 10th heavenly birthday. And you stopped drinking on that day." And I just was like, wow, her intercession, I just really felt that her intercession is what helped me to stop drinking. And the fact that I did it on that day was just proof of it. So I didn't want to screw up my sobriety date. So I decided I got to make this work. My mom had a friend that went to AA, so she took me to my first meeting. And then she told me, well, now you're on your own. You need to get yourself to meetings. I found a meeting. She told me how to look it up. I looked up AA meetings in my area. I found one. They have like all kinds of different names and things like that. So I just picked one that was close to me that had a name that sounded like something I would like. And I went to it. But when I got to the meeting, I just sat in my car and I did not want to go in. Like there was nothing in me in that moment that was like, okay, let's do this. Like I did not want to go in. But somehow I found myself in that room in a seat. And when they called on me, I just told them, like, I'm new. I've never been to an AA meeting. And quite honestly, I was sitting out in my car, not wanting to come in here. The only reason I think I am here right now is because God literally carried me into this room and sat me in this chair. And I just kept coming back. So I went to AA for 2 years, maintained my sobriety that entire time. And, you know, I've been sober ever since. I have lived a beautiful alcohol-free life. And the life that I have now, because I chose freedom, because I was willing to do absolutely anything to stop drinking, I now live a life that I never could have dreamed of. I never could have imagined. And it's not perfectly perfect, but it's perfect for me. And I am blessed in so many ways. And the most beautiful thing that I have is my faith, is my relationship with God. And because of my struggle, because of my journey, because my sobriety story and sobriety journey and faith journey are so intertwined, it's just so important and so special to me. And I am so grateful to God every single day because without His grace, without His love, without His mercy, I just would not be here today. And that's what prompts me to want to help others because I know what it's like to not be free, but I also know what it's like to be free. So if you've been watching this video and you're starting to realize that alcohol is taking way more than it's giving, just know that you're not weak and you're not broken and you're definitely not alone. You also don't have to hit rock bottom. You don't have to lose everything. I work with so many women who have their lives together in so many areas, in pretty much every area of their life. But when it comes to alcohol, it is a struggle. And that's okay because nobody's taught you how not to drink once you start. So if you're looking for some clarity or you want to gain awareness around your drinking, I do have this 5-day sacred sobriety kickstart. It's 5 days of short videos and some worksheets that are really going to help you gain clarity around your drinking and your decisions to take alcohol or leave it. If this story spoke to you, I invite you to comment or share it with someone else who you know could use this message. There's freedom on the other side, I promise, and it is glorious. And I also want you to know that God desires your freedom even more than you do, and He has equipped you with the supernatural gifts that you need, along with His grace, to be successful. You can do this, and you do not have to do it alone. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.